Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words. Today we're playing Legacy and we have access to new cards. Avatar The Last Airbender set is now available on Magic Online and we have the actual cards instead of the legally distinct versions like we had with that awful Spider-Man set. Anyway, every month I do a giveaway on my Patreon and somebody gets to have what they want put up on the channel as a donation deck, and this month's is a reinterpretation of like the mono black mid-range deck that I sort of pioneered quite a while back. Not exactly a difficult deck to come up with, but I played it to European Legacy Masters and I was pretty happy with it. So we get to play multiple new cards in this deck, which is really cool. So let's get right into these new cards. First we have Maei, Scornful Striker, and it is pronounced Maei. For those who watch the cartoon, they will know. This is a 2-mana 2/2 first striker. When a player casts a non-creature spell, they lose 2 life. It's symmetrical, but we have a lot of creatures, and it should hurt our opponent a lot more than it hurts us. Then we have another new card, which I think is really good, Obsessive Pursuit. It's 2 mana enchantment. When this enchantment enters, and at the beginning of your upkeep, you lose 1 life and create a clue token. So it's a bit like Tamiyo in that from turn 2 onwards, you basically just get a clue every turn from a difficult to interact with permanent. But it's got another line of text that we're also going to be using quite a bit today. Whenever you attack, put X +1/+1 counters on target attacking creature, where X is the number of permanents you sacrifice this turn. If X is 3 or greater, that creature gains lifelink until end of turn. Now, what's a perfect thing to pair this with in a mono black mid-rangey aggro shell? Stalactite Stalker. This wants us to have permanents put into our graveyard from anywhere. So if we're sacrificing a Mishra's Bauble, let's say, then it's going to grow the Stalker and also grow our creature with Obsessive Pursuit. If we crack a fetch land, same deal. If we're using Lotus Petal, which is what we're using instead of Dark Ritual because of the synergy with Stalactite Stalker and Obsessive Pursuit. So it's not quite as much mana that we get out of this compared to a Dark Ritual. This is +1, Dark Ritual is +2, but it is triggering synergies, and I do like playing to synergies in a deck. The rest of this deck is pretty much cards you would expect to see in a mono black shell like this. We have a bunch of cool hate bears, basically. We've got Orcish Bowmasters, which is a little bit of removal and a hate bear for people drawing extra cards. We've got Dauthi Voidwalker, which can hate on the graveyard. We have Barrowgoyf, which hates on red decks and is just obnoxious, to be honest. I'm not really a fan of this card existing, but while it's here, we're going to smash people up with it. We've got ourselves a couple of opposition agents with a couple more on the board. These are good against things like Doomsday, and there are a bunch of decks that can struggle against the opposition agent. And then we have a one of Sheoldred. This is just a little nod to maybe worrying about decks with Ensnaring Bridge. We can kill through Ensnaring Bridge with a Sheoldred. We've got another one in the sideboard along with some Powder Cake. Spell-wise, we've got ourselves some removal in Edict and Fatal Pushes. The Stalactite Stalker can also be removal. We've got ourselves some Thoughtseize to take a look at our opponent's hand. And then we've got these little 0 mana things I mentioned earlier to make the rest of our deck tick. Mana base-wise, we've got some Wastelands, which, guess what? They're permanents that sacrifice to Obsessive Pursuit and Stalactite Stalker buffs. We've got fetch lands, which also do that. And because we're running fetch lands, we get to run a one of Underground Mortuary. So we have a little bit of selection on our mana base. And there's just a nice amount of deck building synergy here. Out the sideboard, if we want more threats, we can go for Sheoldred. We've got another Maei. When this card is good, it's going to be really good. This is going to be how we're trying to beat some of the Storm decks sometimes. Combination of this and Hand Disruption should hopefully get us there. Then we've got a little bit more removal in Sheoldred's Edict and some Plague Engineers. We've got the opposition agents, and then we've got the Hymns of Tourach as well for Hand Disruption. I'm not 100% set on the numbers here, and I've not played with either of these cards yet. I just think they look pretty interesting in practice. I think Obsessive Pursuit is the better of these two cards, but when Maei is good, it's going to be really good. Alright, let's just get stuck in. Remember to like and subscribe, and if you would like to have your decks on the channel, you can support my Patreon. If you support on the highest tier, you just get a donation deck every month, and if you would like to get entered into the draw, it's just $2 a month to support me, and then also get your opportunity to maybe have your deck on the channel without having to pay any more. Alright, let's get stuck in with some mono black aggro / mid-range. Have you got magic cards you don't want taking up space in your home, or do you just need some extra spending money? Well, my lovely sponsors 3for1 Trading are buying all collections, big and small. They are one of Europe's biggest traders and have a transparent process to sell them cards and make sure you're getting a good deal. Click the link in the description of this video to get an offer on your cards today. Okay, we can keep this one. Weirdly, we're slightly incentivized to play out the swamp first so that we can get 2 counters off of this Verdant Catacombs. And if our opponent's not playing a black land here, then this could be a black land. So we could still walk into an Orcish Bowmaster, but I think we're just going to go for the highest upside for us and just play the Stalactite Stalker this turn. Next turn we crack the Verdant Catacombs, play the Obsessive Pursuit. This will get a counter, and then it'll get another counter at the end step. And then we've already got a 3/3 that's going to be attacking possibly as a 4/4 on turn 3. Hedge Maze. Could be some sort of grindy Bant deck. Prismatic Vista certainly lends itself to either Omnitel or grindy Bant decks. Or grindy control decks. I'd rather not play against Omnitel, although we do have a decent amount of hand disruption we can hopefully leverage once we board in the Hymn to Tourach. Ponder. This feels like Omnitel to me. Do we want to try and get some Orcish Bowmaster in to mess with their cantrips, or do we want to try and maximize damage here? I think I want to maximize damage. Let's crack this. Get Swamp. Get the Obsessive Pursuit in. We get a clue. We attack with this. And it gets pumped. So we get 2 damage in now. This will grow at the end step. If we can find another fetch land, we can get some more growing going. Then we have various hate bears of different stripes that we can leverage. Ancient Tomb. Is this going to be the One Ring, or is it just show and tell straight up? Which of these things do I think is going to be most useful here? Probably the Bowmasters. I think that's what we're going to go for. Our opponent is just stocking up, not show and telling, so we've got a little bit of time. This is another reason why I didn't want a Bowmasters last turn, because the Ancient Tomb into stock up line, or just a land into stock up line, makes a lot of sense. Okay, we've drawn a Thoughtseize. Let's fire it off. They might have a Veil of Summer here that looks relatively telegraphed off this green land. Yep, and there it is. We could crack a clue and get in for 2 more damage. Or we could play a Bowmasters. I think I'm just going to crack the clue, actually. Another Thoughtseize. I don't hate that for next turn. This won't grow the Stalker because the Descended thing, I don't believe, because these aren't cards, they're tokens, it won't grow the Stalker. But it just did grow from the Obsessive Pursuit. We really needed to draw a fetch land there to get more going. Here's the show and tell. I think we lose to this. But if they have to draw a lot of cards to get where they're going, we might be able to get them dead here. Because if they've got like a bunch of Brainstorms and Ponders rather than just having an Emrakul in hand right now, then we might be able to get some purchase. Okay, we get nothing out of that. That's fun. We also don't get the body that I wanted from the Orcish Bowmasters. Our Stalactite Stalker to make a friend. Another Uro. There's a few builds of Omnitel floating around. I did play a blue-black one recently against Tubo on our midweek meta slot last week. It's the guy who has the True Tempo YouTube channel that I hope you all subscribe to. Stock up. This has got to find enough pieces to get them going. Because they're not going to get killed by our Bowmasters. They can just do stuff like Lauren revealed. They're dead if they don't answer our stuff, perhaps. Because we've got quite a lot of damage coming in next turn. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And we might be able to thread a little bit more damage. 10, 11. We can answer this, but it's probably going to find them an Emrakul. Didn't find them an Emrakul. Did find them Force of Will. I took Force of Will, Island, Lotus Petal. And then Omniscience, of course. Another Omniscience. You can definitely cast spells for free here, opponent. You have 3 Omnisciences. A Preordain. Alright, I'm going to start pinging the Attractor. This doesn't have Hexproof because the Veil of Summer only matters for permanents that are in play when you cast it. So if they cast enough spells, we can maybe pick up the Attractor for free here. Otherwise, we're going to have to Thoughtseize plus Sheoldred's Edict. Kind of incredible they haven't found the Emrakul yet. I guess they only run 1, but they do have Cunning Wish, I'm sure, which allows them to tutor for it. Because they can Cunning Wish for shared summons. Alright, we've got 5 pings down on the Attractor. And there's the Emrakul. How many permanents can we sacrifice? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we're not going to be able to clap back for enough, are we? Alright, they found it. That's fair enough. This is a difficult one for us to interact with outside of hand disruption. But I'll take hand disruption. I'll also take another Maei here. I don't think we want... We didn't see any black mana, so I don't think they're going to have a pivot plan. All of this stuff has text, because sometimes they show and tell in a big monster. We don't want the Fatal Pushes. They can come straight out. The Dauthi Voidwalker is an interesting one, because we can Dauthi Voidwalker, hit our opponent's hand with a Thoughtseize, then get like one of the giant monsters. I'd find 6 cuts, though. Which is a lot. Honestly... How useful is Barrowgoyf here? I don't think Barrowgoyf is actually that useful. We're not trying to clock our opponent's life total and grow ours at the same time. We just want to disrupt them. So we want disruptive creatures, not just a big body that can hurt our opponent. Do we need 3 Sheoldred's Edict? That's probably one too many. We're mainly trying to fight them in their hand. We can just cut like a bauble, I guess is fine. Right, we'll try it like this. We've got some hymns to poke at our opponent. We're on the play, so our Thoughtseize can come down before their Veil of Summer does, which is a big deal. Classic Thoughtseize into him. That's how we like to game, and that's what I want to do. We've got card advantage, we've got disruption of varying kinds. If our opponent's hand is really soft, we can play a Dauthi Voidwalker before we hymn to Tourach. Lorien revealed Omniscience, Omniscience, Preordain. Suppose we just take the Preordain here and kind of leave our opponent somewhat stranded. Then we're going to play the Dauthi Voidwalker next. That way, if we make them discard the Euro, it's not such a big deal. A Lotus Petal, does that change anything right now? I don't think it does, but it can do for next turn. I think the Dauthi Voidwalker is slightly more important to get in than the Maei here, because as far as we know, they're not really casting anything. There's a good chance we hit an Omniscience with our Dauthi Voidwalker in play, which is pretty nice. Brainstorm, that can certainly shake up their hand, and then we can take a bite out of it with this Hymn to Tourach. I think I want to get the Maei down this turn rather than any Obsessive Pursuit stuff. This is going to be our follow-up that's going to start gaining us advantage. The fact that this makes a clue when it comes in is huge, because when you top deck in the late game, it's just good still. Right, they're cracking their Prismatic Vista. We also knew they drew an island before, and another Ponder. So these are all going into the exile zone, so we'll leave that popped up here in case anything takes my fancy. And a Lotus Petal. I wish you'd have kept that in hand so we could burn you with the Maei. Please draw a land would be good. Not a land. So are we Hymn to Touraching our opponent, or are we playing the Maei? I would have liked a land to play the Maei, but I think we have to just hymn our opponent. I don't believe our opponent's running... I guess we should play out the Lotus Petal just in case there's a random Daze over there. I'm not expecting our opponent to play Daze. Flusterstorm would catch this anyway. If they have the Veil of Summer, it's very irritating. But there's not really a lot we get to do about that, unfortunately. Just crack in for 3. Tropical Island. Blue, blue, blue. It's a show and tell. I think we put in the Maei, and hopefully our opponent casting spells will die, because I think they cast enough to have died to this last time. They do get some life back off this Uro. This is life loss and it's non-targeted, so they can't fog it with the Veil of Summer. 3 life from Euro offsets 1.5 Maei triggers. I would much rather play against Sneak and Show with our deck than I would against Omnitel, because the Veil of Summer is just a little bit spooky for us. Are they passing a turn? Stalactite Stalker. Let's play this Obsessive Pursuit. It does hurt us. It does mean that we die to one thing of Emrakul, but we're going to die to an Emrakul if they cast it anyway. We're not going to have enough permanence. A Spell Pierce. Sure, that's 2 life that you take. I could play out this Stalactite Stalker. I think is worth doing. Do I want any of these cards? I don't believe so, because our opponent's spells are free, so a Spell Pierce isn't going to help us out. Whereas clocking our opponent might reduce the amount of spells I can cast. Let's crack in for 5. Puts our opponent to 8. So they are dead on board, right? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Well, they're dead on board if they cast any non-creature spell. They're passing. Nice Omniscience. Stalactite Stalker. Is there a way that we can leverage this right now? I believe so. If we can't kill our opponent this turn, I suppose it's fine just attacking for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Because that puts our opponent to 1, and that really limits what spells they can cast. They have to basically top deck Emrakul. Are we going to get over the finish line in this one? Perhaps. Alright, we tied it up. Nice. On the draw, it's a little bit more challenging. I don't think I want to change anything here, though. Yeah, we'll just windmill in like this. The Opposition Agent isn't as much damage as Barrowgoyf, but it does disrupt somewhat. It can stop them from being able to use fetch lands, which makes their brainstorms worse. So I think it is worth having that. We've got some stuff we're interested in. Hymn to Tourach and Maei are 2 of the heavier lifting cards that we have in our deck. But our opponent can just turn 1 or turn 2 show and tell, and we don't beat that. Just an island. So this is probably holding up for like a Spell Pierce to protect against Thoughtseize. Let's play the Swamp. Let's play this Lotus Petal. And then I'm going to play out this Maei. Because this doesn't get clipped by the Spell Pierce. And might force them to use like a proper spell, like Force of Will. Which could potentially take a blue card like Show and Tell out of their hand. So it's going to be good. Or it takes out like a cantrip or a stock up or something. Getting this in place super early means that all of our opponent's setup turns are going to be kind of disastrous for them. They need to just have it. Which will beat us, I'm sure. If they do have it. Such is life. Okay, they're cycling in their upkeep because they didn't like the cards they put back with the Brainstorm. That's good. I don't want them to actually want the cards they put back with Brainstorm because then it was all just gas. Hedge Maze. So there's no chance of getting hit by a Veil of Summer this turn. So this is the perfect time to him to Tourach our opponent. We take 2 life. We're okay with that. Yes, we take some damage. I do love symmetrical designs. Right, we've got rid of a Force of Will and a Prismatic Vista. Dash in with Maei. Next turn we can drop a bunch of Stalactite Stalker. If we draw, let's say, a fetch land, we can just make 3 2/2s. A stock up. That's going to hit them a little bit. But get them closer towards their combo. We didn't hit any combo pieces with our Hymn to Tourach, so it's quite possible they have something in there because they probably want to keep at least 1 combo piece in their opener. Underground Mortuary. Let's see, so Descend is a permanent card put into your graveyard from anywhere. So any permanent card on top of our library goes into the graveyard. And we attack for 2, and then we make 2 2/2s. And we have 6 damage coming in. So the heat is on for our opponent a little bit. Oh, yes, you cast a Ponder into my Maei. It puts them to 12. So this is a 2-turn clock if they do nothing. They shuffled off that Ponder. That's also good news for us. A fetch land that we're going to snag with this opposition agent and really annoy our opponent. That's beautiful stuff as well. Do you have a fetch land here? Sorry, a Surveil land? I don't think they have another one. Alright, we managed to get the match. Monoblack Hatebears for the win. Maei looked very impressive there. This is the sort of matchup where you want her for, where the fact that she's only a 2/2 doesn't matter, because her ability gets to do the stuff while she chips in for damage. But against a deck that's got creatures that can block this in combat effectively, it's going to look a lot worse. That's why we have 3 in the board, 3 in the main, and 1 in the board. Anyway, on to round number 2. We are on the draw. Our hand looks fine. I'll keep this on. Obviously, every hand is going to look a little bit better if there's a Thoughtseize in it. Our opponent's mulligan to 5. So this might be a game where we want to jam a Dauthi or a Bowmasters on 1. Both of them answer Echo Vions, but the Dauthi Voidwalker also answers other things our opponent can have. So I think the line is the Dauthi. It's the best thing against multiple combo decks. No Echo Vions, no Reanimator. This could be a Surveil land in response just to see if they can hit a big monster, if that's what they're doing. They're on like the Reanimate train. They left the card on top. Do we get to have a Dauthi Voidwalker? Okay, they have a Daze as well. But they've slowed their roll a little bit because the land they have in hand that we know about off their low mulligan is going to come in tapped. This looks like blue-black Reanimator is some description to me. I'm just getting those sorts of vibes, but we'll see. Obsessive Pursuit is cool. Don't need that just yet, though. I think the play here is main phase Orcish Bowmaster. The reason for this is I don't believe our opponent is playing an Orcish Bowmaster deck. I'm just not getting those sorts of vibes from my opponent. Mulliganing that low is so rare with like the Dimir tempo decks because they're pretty low curve. They just have a bunch of spells that are fine. Flusterstorm pitched. Okay, our opponent is definitely doing something combo-y. They could be the Show and Tell blue-black deck. That's a possibility. The Flusterstorm kind of suggests that maybe. Not seen this Flusterstorm art before. Okay, we're running a little bit dry of good stuff to do here. But the Obsessive Search will hopefully get us where we need to go. Let's play the Search first, so we can play it around a Daze, because I think this is more important than getting the Stalactite Stalker in. We've got a reader from our opponent. I think this card is very good. I think this is the best Phyrexian Arena style card that we have access to at the moment. Let's play the Stalker. When we go to attacks, this won't get pumped because it's not going to be able to attack this turn. Consider. Okay, we're on Doomsday. That makes some sense. Like, they might not be Doomsday, but these sorts of things feel very Doomsday related. So because this didn't attack, it doesn't get a counter. But it does get a counter at the end of turn because of our fetch land. Next turn we can fetch land, and that'll pump it. And then we can crack the clue, which will pump it again. And we're going to get a lot of damage in this turn, hopefully. Barrowgoyf. That is a big customer, isn't it? Let's go for a Barrowgoyf, playing around days. Like this. Get a swamp. We go to attacks. Our Stalactite Stalker comes in for 3. Next turn we got 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 damage coming across. Like, just on board right now we have 10 damage. It could go up to 11 damage if we draw a fetch land, or one of our Wastelands, or a Lotus Petal. Like, there's a whole bunch of things that can get some more counters. Limdol's Vault. Oh, okay, I think I've seen this deck. It uses stuff that cares about what's on top of your library. So they put, is it Keen-Eyed Duelist? Is that what it's called? So they put the like Emrakul type stuff on top, and then have a thing that basically domes us for 15, and they draw the card, and then they get domed by whatever the mana value of what's on top of our deck. And there's, I can't remember what else is in that deck. There's Vesuvan Drifter, I think, is the other one. So the lifelink here might actually be really important. Okay, they finished resolving the Limdol's Vault. We might be in trouble. This is going to be a good matchup for him to Tourach, I imagine. They're not playing anything at all. That's suspicious. Obsessive Pursuit pops off. A Wasteland. Big fan of the Wasteland. I'm going to draw a card off of my clue token first. It's a Stalactite Stalker. We have a 2-turn clock anyway. I'm just going to crack a clue token again. I'll play this Wasteland. I'm going to Wasteland their Undercity Sewers. And go to attacks. So the other option we had was try and connect with the Barrowgoyf. And then... oh, wow. We just get to win with Obsessive Pursuit, pumping our guy. Nice. So the other option we had was to attack with the Barrowgoyf and see if we can play something useful off of it. But I think getting the damage in and more lifelink, if our opponent's trying to do that thing where they dome us for 15 off the top of their library, I think that's going to make a lot of sense. I think this is going to be him to Tourach, Maei, Oppo Agents, possibly Sheoldred and Sheoldred's Edict if they're running the Vesuvan Drifter. Doesn't look like a fatal push matchup. So those can come out. Maybe we don't need all of these edicts. I think the lifelink does matter here. So the reason I'm thinking about Opposition Agent a little bit is our opponent might have other ways of tutoring stuff to put on top of their library. Now, Opposition Agent doesn't work against Limdol's Vault, but it does work against things like Intuition or any sort of... I don't think they've got Worldly Tutor, but I have seen builds that are running that, if that's what our opponent is even on. Guess we can trim a Bauble. They didn't want us to have a Dauthi Voidwalker. So that means we want to have the Dauthi Voidwalker in. Maybe we just can't fit in the Opposition Agents. And maybe we can't fit in the Sheoldreds. And we just have a relatively low to ground... oh, so we've got 2 Opposition Agents here. So we can either have the Sheoldreds or the Oppo Agents. I think I actually want the Oppo Agents more than the Sheoldred here. I would like 2 more, but I just don't know what we can cut. Like, we could trim some Obsessive Pursuit, but I think this card is just really good in the backbone of our deck. So I'm not going to cut that. I do want a couple of removal spells to reach for. Yeah, we're just going to run it like this. If we learn more about our opponent's deck, then we can adjust. This is a not great hand. We don't have any stable mana sources. I think we're going to mulligan this one. Right, if Wastelands are good, this hand is okay. Am I willing to just Wasteland my opponent twice? We do have a redraw here as well. Would I like the immediate redraw? I think I need the immediate redraw more than I need the Obsessive Pursuit. Our opponent's mulligan to 5 again. Which means double Wasteland and could just completely throw them in the bin. If we draw a Stalactite Stalker, we can play the Stalker and grow it while we're Wastelanding. Underground Sea. Dark Ritual. Is it Doomsday? It was just Doomsday all along. They did see Wastelands from us. Drawing another Lotus Petal would be pretty good here. Now, depending on what they have in hand, they can kill us this turn. It's unlikely, but possible. They could kill us next turn. But if we Wasteland them, maybe that's not the case. So we need to take a good look at what they're removing from their deck when they do this Doomsday. And see if we can work out what their pile consists of. This could be a pivot plan from the deck that I mentioned. There's a lot of things our opponent has to try and play around here. Orcish Bowmasters, Wasteland, Hand Disruption. But this makes me want to have more opposition agents in my deck, at least. It could just be Doomsday that is happening to run Limdor's Vault. It might not be that spicy deck. It's not a card you see very often. So it has my curiosity peaked. Okay, they're arranging their pile now, so let's have a look. Limdor's Vault, Limdor's Vault. Okay, it's just regular Doomsday, but they've got more ways of getting stuff done. Is there a Lion's Eye Diamond in here? There is not. That means they have a pile that ignores Wasteland. Oh no, there's a Lion's Eye Diamond here, which means they might need the land. Okay. So we're just going to... I guess we get to Mishra's Bauble first and see what's on top of their library. A Street Wraith. Okay. Let's get in with a Wasteland. I'm not going to play out this Lotus Petal yet. Our opponent's moving quite slowly here, which might be them trying to work out if they can still win after that Wasteland. Hymns of Tourach. Not playing out a land. So it might be on Lotus Petals. Stalactite Stalker. Lotus Petal. So if they do a pile that doesn't have everything, so they haven't gone through their entire deck with their pile, then we can get them maybe with this Sheoldred's Edict. And we're just going to jam this Bowmasters. They probably cycle the Street Wraith in response. There it goes. But there's no way that we can play around that because it's just an instant speed thing they get to do. This puts our opponent to 7. And then we attack them to 5. So we need a little bit more damage. A Marsh Flats. Does that make any difference here? Gives us a kill next turn, I think. I should probably do the maths to make sure that's the case. Although it's not really going to impact how we play because we're just going to play the thing we have. So if we play this, we end up with a 2-2, so we attack for 4. So they're still not dead. But it makes any sort of additional Street Wraith not good. Is there any Street Wraiths in there? So well, that's already not good. If we could hold up the Sheoldred's Edict in case they just play the Thassa's Oracle now. They play the Thassa's Oracle with one card in their library and we Sheoldred's Edict it. That's pretty good. But if we don't do anything right now and commit more damage, that's also not great for us. I think we have to assume that the last card is the Thassa's Oracle and go for adding a little bit more damage. So they can't get empty this turn without giving us the kill next turn. But if they get empty, they're probably going to win. So I think our opponent has this one. Turn 1 Doomsday has a habit of winning games. Alright, we just got the match. I think that Wasteland that we had was really good. And I'm happy about that. We're 2-0 now. Let's go to round 3. Our opening hand here has no 1-drops and we're on the draw. If this is a fair matchup, this hand is good. Are we going to stress test the deck and keep this? We have 8 1-drops and 4 Lotus Petals. So we have 12 draws that allow us to play something on turn 1. I think we're going to keep this and try it out. It's about time we played a fair matchup. Played a 2 combo decks so far. Just an island. Another one of our many 2-drops. Right, here is a swamp. A forest over there. Up the beanstalk. Ah, we're doing this, are we? One of those decks. We've got some choices here. They've got 6 cards in hand. I'm going to play this Dauthi Voidwalker because they use their graveyard quite a lot. And we have multiple of these. So if they want to counterspell this with a force, they can do that. But this is going to shut off their Loams, their Witherbloom Commands, their Murktide Regents, their Murderous Cuts. Quite a lot of stuff is going to get impacted by this. Alright, we're just in. This does mean that our Barrowgoyf is going to be very unimpressive. But we don't have any lack of things to do. Now this can probably just get picked up by a plow. I'm kind of building up for a turn where maybe we get to jam something and then flash in a Bowmaster in response to something that our opponent has. A Leyline Binding. Goodbye, Dauthi Voidwalker. Barrowgoyf still not doing anything. A Wasteland. Wasteland is a great way to fight against these decks. Let's try the Maei here. Alright, we got Force of Will. I feel a lot happier about this game if we're on the play. Another Beanstalk. This is why we've been sandbagging the Bowmasters, because we can hopefully run a little roughshod over our opponent with the Bowmaster. A Marsh Flats. This is going to be a Surveil land, although we could just drop a big Barrowgoyf. And then next turn we double spell for sure. It's just a very efficient way of using our mana. If the Barrowgoyf lives, it's obviously a huge problem because it just clocks really effectively and draws us cards. I suspect it's going to get bound or ploughed. It's going to be a basic plains. Oh, no, just a Xander's Lounge. So no white mana. So that's their removal colour and they don't have access to it. I don't hate that for us. Another Beanstalk. These Bowmasters, they're going to be bangers. There's a plains. Oh, he should have let us untap. So now we might just not be able to come back from all this card advantage our opponent has. A Tamiyo as well. And Orcish Bowmasters. I think I'll play one of them out now and see what happens. We get to ping our opponent. They try to interact with this. We can flash in another one. Now all of their spells are going to hit our opponent for 3 when they cast them, basically. In comes the Tamiyo. If they flip the Tamiyo, it can kind of blank these guys. But if they flip the Tamiyo, our Orc army is huge. Opponent probably has no shortage of action they can deploy. We're not great at dealing with enchantments as a mono-black deck. We're not playing Feed the Swarm or anything like that. I could flash in this Bowmasters, but I don't want to. I want to hold it up. Right, we're going to spend all of our mana this turn. Let's Thoughtseize our opponent first. And see if we can resolve a couple of threats. Just a Quantum Riddler. Oh, wow, their hand is real bad. Let's get Dauthi Voidwalker in. We could have done this other way and managed to get the Quantum Riddler off of our opponent. Do I want to get extra damage with this Bowmaster right now and risk getting hit by a Wrath? I don't think I do. But the reason we Thoughtseize first is so we have more chance of resolving both of our threats. We're not expecting our opponent to have many things we actually want to put underneath a Voidwalker instead anyway. Oh, you're going to crack that clue, are you? I'm going to make a little friend here. Bam. Got you. Right, you're on 10 life opponent with only lands in hand. Cracking clues off of this Tamiyo feels pretty scary for them. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So they're not dead on board. Played a Misty Rainforest. Cracking Misty Rainforest. So they're now dead on board. So they have to do something. If they flip the Tamiyo and deal with the Orc Army token, they might be okay. Let's see what they mill over in the void. Quantum Riddler. Cracking clue. So they have a Wrath there. Or they must have something good here, right? What are they going to do with 3 mana though? I think they're just dead? Yeah, okay. Our opponent agrees. The power of mono-black stuff. What would I like here? So Powder Keg is artifacts and creatures, so it doesn't have a lot of play here. Hymn to Tourach, which I'm boarding in every round, it seems. I like this a lot. I like the Maei. I like the Sheoldred. The Oppo Agent is fine, but not exciting. So put in the maybe pile. What do we not require here? Fatal Push can answer Tamiyo, but our plan is to go through the Tamiyo. So I don't think we necessarily need to deal with that. Sheoldred's Edict can clean up the Tamiyo, so maybe that's something we want as well. We like the Thoughtseizes. I don't think we need the Baubles as much in this one. The Obsessive Pursuit is great. Draw us a load of cards. All of our threats are great. Do we end up like having something that looks like this? Still got a couple of Edicts in case they have something we really want to answer. But we're just going to be threat until our opponent dies. Our opponent bricking off on lands was the thing that probably won us that game though. Orcish Bowmaster, one of the best cards in this matchup. And we have 3 of the bad boys. We even have an answer for a Tamiyo Planeswalker. And we have a Draw Engine. This card is really good. Okay, a Brainstorm. Just a naked turn 1 Brainstorm. That is unusual. Surveil land for us. I do like this card. We're just going to keep throwing really annoying threats at our opponent. It doesn't look like they have Bowmasters of their own. The Black Splash is purely off of the Xander's Lounge, so they can get access to Leyline Bindings and things. They're not playing a Beanstalk this turn, which is good for us. We will have a choice about what we want to do with the Bowmasters. That is a Swords to Plowshares right there. That's what that tells us. Crack this. Try and get a Swamp. And just pass the turn. I don't need to Bowmasters into this plow. We can Bowmasters in their upkeep. We can Bowmaster in response to a draw effect. We can Bowmaster their end step. Either way, if they plow it... Ooh, a Triumph of St. Catherine. That's pretty interesting, isn't it? Let's get this Bowmaster in while they're tapped out. We have an interesting process. So what is the exact text on this? It's put your graveyard from the battlefield, exile it, and the top 6 cards of your library. Okay. So it doesn't go into the graveyard if the Dauthi Voidwalker is in play. So if we get the Dauthi Voidwalker in play, then we get to Sheoldred's Edict this and it goes into the graveyard forever. No, sorry, it goes into exile forever. We don't have another Surveil land. Would I trade an Orc army token for 5 life? Yes, I would. Because that way, if we play another Bowmasters, we get another token. They're ploughing the Bowmasters, not the Dauthi. Okay. Like, makes sense if you want to resolve a Brainstorm. You see a Beanstalk here. I suspect it's a Beanstalk. Yep. Really, really want to draw another land. We did draw a land. I'll take it. Let's crack this. Let's just keep their exile pile up here. We've got a swamp. So I'm going to cast this Bowmasters. Okay, we're just in with the Bowmasters, aren't we? Each opponent sacrifices a non-token creature of their choice. They lose a Triumph and it goes into exile. It's gone for good. Now we've got a Bowmaster pressuring their Beanstalk. Dauthi Voidwalker pressuring their graveyard and life total. And we've got a load of gas still in the tank. We can't take our opponent off of a colour with our Wasteland. But we're in a good enough spot, I would say. Quantum Riddler. So this is going to get them some Beanstalk action. Which is going to get us some Bowmaster action. This is warped. We can worry about it later. Let's ping them again. Our Bowmaster might be able to just outclass us in combat by the time it comes around anyway. They need some removal spells. They probably have Prismatic Ending in their deck. Well, they might not have Prismatic Ending, actually. Caracas. Okay, so this makes the Maei a lot worse. We can Wasteland their Caracas and then get the Maei going. What is the plan here? I would like to... I guess we could Obsessive Pursuit. And then we can Wasteland. And take out the Caracas. This stops them being able to bounce their Tamiyo after they block. This also gives us a sacrifice trigger for our Obsessive Pursuit, which is then going to grow our creature. Are they just going to bounce a Tamiyo? You got it. Attack with everything. I'll grow the Bowmaster here. I don't think they have their own Bowmaster, but all of our creatures being different power is hopefully irritating to our opponent. Like, they can't just deal with one guy. I'm still going to be left over with a bunch of power, so it's going to make their spot removal worse. I think they're probably looking to try and Supreme Verdict this turn. Wrath of the Skies. That is going to clean up everything here, isn't it? I'm going to crack my clue. This will take out their own Beanstalk, though. Hymn to Tourach. Our opponent has 2 cards in hand. Let's just bang this in there. Bang in this Maei. I'll play this Marsh Flats. There's an argument for playing the Bowmasters instead of the Maei there. Now, this is guaranteed to get 2 damage off of our opponent. Quantum Riddle. Sure. Opposition Agent. I'm going to crack this land now. And then we wait. Actually, we can just jam this Orcish Bowmasters right now, couldn't we? Because they're going to draw an extra card off this Quantum Riddler, and that will trigger the Bowmaster. These hate bears just really putting the squeeze on our opponent. I'm enjoying this a lot. Oh, no, is this a replacement effect? No, they didn't. Sorry, they didn't have a few enough cards to draw the extra card. My bad. So I could Opposition Agent and take out that fetch land, but I'm more interested in having a flash threat if they wrath our board, in case you're wondering why I didn't just play this in front when they did their thing. Because if they wrath here, Triumph of St. Catherine. Could you go away? I hate this card. Not attacking. Am I flashing this in? I don't think so. Sheoldred's Edict. It's not a bad one, is it? So our Bowmasters is going to trigger this turn. Because they have few enough cards that the Quantum Riddler is going to get them an extra card. I could ping this and then block it and kill it, but it's just going to come back again. How are we actually getting through this Triumph? It is an interesting conundrum. Right, we'll put it on their face. We could block with our Orc army. Oh no, we can't Sheoldred's Edict ourselves, can we? Because it's non-token thing an opponent controls, because it's not targeted. Now they can get a clue. Let's make them sacrifice a non-token creature of their choice. It does cost us 2 life due to our own Maei, but that's fine. This isn't really about our life total. This game is all about our opponent's life total. Okay, they lost that. So we could kill this. It's going to cost us the Oppo agent and the Orc army to kill this. And it's going to come back in some number of turns. Is it top 6 cards? So it's going to be one of the top 7 cards of their library. I think we have to do it. I hate it. It's what we have. The Quantum Riddler can also mess with them being able to miracle it, but they can just hardcast it, so it doesn't matter on that front. 4 mana. Wrath of the Skies. Yep. I think this one is falling away. They're an 8 life. They've got a Quantum Riddler. We don't really have a way of blowing up any more creatures. I'm going to take 1 draw and I think we're going to scoop. We need something like a Sheoldred here. We can take out their hand. What do we get? So we got a Triumph. That might have been the thing they drew off the Beanstalk. Another Beanstalk. So we've got 1 more Bowmasters. Did we board in the Sheoldreds? We didn't board in. We just have the one in our main deck. Sheoldred would be how we get through this. I think we need to hit that pretty much now, though. Swamp. All right. We've got plenty of time. Like 15 minutes is loads, so we're just going to play it out. If we can find the Sheoldred, then maybe we get to win this one. I think we've dealt with the Triumph, unless they have another Triumph. It's going to put us to 7. We've got 2 turn clock. They're also drawing additional cards every turn. Uro's pretty good against Sheoldred. All right, we're just going to scoop it up there. We get to be on the play, though. I don't think I want these Oppo agents in. I do like the flash threat, but I just think having the Sheoldred for those situations where our opponent has a billion cards is going to be good. And we get this Sheoldred's Edict in, so we've got another answer for their big lifelink guy. And that'll do. Stalactite Stalker into double him. Get in the bin, opponent. This is what we want to be doing. I hope you like the dirt, because that's going to be your new home. Just going to get this swamp. If we draw a fetch land next turn, we also get to continue growing the Stalker as well. Just a little ponder. Now, there's an argument for playing the Bowmasters out first. But I think just softening our opponent's hand up with a couple of hymns is going to be very strong. A Dauthi. As much as I like to get additional pressure, I think just smashing up our opponent's hand. Like if this hymn hits the right cards when it's discarded at random, it could just completely end the game. Right, we got Force of Will out of it. No green source. Okay, they've got a Tamiyo. This has Menace. Kind of a weird one here. 4 cards in our opponent's hand. Right, I think we just hymn again. Sing the Song of My People. Quantum Riddler, Swords to Plowshares. This has Menace, so it does get to attack. I think I'd rather hold out for double spelling next turn than just getting 1 point of power on our Stalactite Stalker for no gain off this Lotus Petal. Maybe we're not supposed to play this out in case of Wrath of Skies, but if they Wrath of Skies, they also lose their Tamiyo. They're drawing the clue now to dodge Bowmaster. I like that. That makes sense. Obsessive Pursuit. Still not really where we need to be. I could play the Dauthi out now to dodge things like Uro. Uro is some way they could get back into this game, so I think I like the Dauthi here. We'll play this now. If they can't spell this, we count as descending. Another 2 damage to our opponent. It's going to take them down to 12. We've got 5 power in play. But that can be 6 power next turn and be a 2-turn clock because of Obsessive Pursuit. If they're just doing the we make a clue, we crack a clue, they're not really impacting the board that much. It's a shame we're not Bowmastering them in response, but I think making sure that we don't lose to an Uro is just good, solid fundamentals there. A Thoughtseize. I do like a Thoughtseize. Let's take a little peek. Triumph of St. Catherine, Leyline Binding, Quantum Riddler, Tamiyo. I don't really want this Triumph of St. Catherine in the mix at any point, because we're quite good at bleeding our opponent out eventually. So I think we take this Triumph of St. Catherine. And then are we playing the Bowmasters or the Obsessive Pursuit? We play the Obsessive Pursuit now. That gets us 2 counters. That's just the best way to close the game, I think. No, sorry, we get 1 counter now, we get 1 counter at end of turn. Okay. I think we put him on the Stalactite Stalker. The Dauthi Voidwalker is doing another job. I don't really want this to leave. We go to the end step, the Stalactite Stalker grows. So we have lethal on board. Our opponent needs a land. Alright, they didn't find the land that they needed, and we have put up a third victory with this deck. Nice. When I brewed up this deck several years ago now for the first time, it was really, really solid into the meta, and I was a big fan of the deck. It was exceptional into a lot of the blue decks, and I think the same still holds now. Alright, 3-0, let's go to round 4. Okay, round 4. We have a turn 1 Stalactite Stalker, turn 2 Wasteland, plus grow the Stalactite Stalker with a Surveil land, turn 3 Opposition Agent. I'd rather not have 4 lands. I think this is okay. I'm not including Wasteland as a land here. If our Wasteland doesn't have any targets, this hand is not going to be very good. No targets as of yet. Ponder. The land we choose to play first is actually kind of important. Oh, a nice 2-drop to round out our curve. So I'm going to use this Polluted Delta, so our opponent's thinking about blue spells, so they may be more respectful than they need to be. Here is the Swamp. Here is Stalactite Stalker. Now we have a great use for all this extra mana because we can pump it into cracking clue tokens. So next turn we crack a Verdant Catacombs, play an Obsessive Pursuit. This guy gets scaled up, so he's going to be attacking for 3 next turn, and we're going to have a clue that we can do some stuff with in the meantime. If we have to Wasteland for some reason, we can do that. Urza Saga. That would be a reason to Wasteland, wouldn't it? Let's get rid of this Urza Saga. Don't want any part of that in this game. Blue and 1. What is happening here? Wizard Cycling. Okay, so we're on Cephalid Breakfast. This would be nice if we could find our Dauthi Voidwalker soon. The Stalactite Stalker is going to crack in. It's going to deal 2, but it's going to scale up because we had the Wasteland this turn. Next turn we can attack for 4 with this, and then it will grow to 5 at the end step. Shuko. We know they have the guy in hand. Crack in for 3 here. We need to represent something. I'll crack this for a Swamp. Try and have a little display of strength here. Our opponent's got a little bit more time, so they can spend another turn, but if they've got a counter spell in hand, they're just going to go for it here and we're going to die. We get to see their builds. There's a few different breakfast builds floating around right now. They're playing out the Illusionist, but do they have any shame, any fear? I'm going to float some black, making it think that we've got a Bowmaster. And then I'm going to let it resolve. Maybe they'll stop going partway through here. It's a little bit of gamesmanship. Now, if they've sat there with a force of will, they're not going to care about any of our little machinations. Just a little pause between the activations. And then we'll let the other activations go a little bit quicker. And then if they put one of the pieces that we would want to exile, we can then do some activating. And maybe scare our opponent a little bit. I think we're just going to die and our opponent's going to disrespect us. But you've got to play to your outs. And making our opponent pass a turn is one of those outs. Because they could just go and take a bunch of Narcomoebas and put them into play. If they have any Narcomoebas, that is. Are they all in the bottom 10 cards? All in the bottom 6 cards? All in the bottom 3 cards? Where are your Narcomoebas? Ah, we found them. They're definitely going to go for it because they've got no cards left in their library. I don't think we managed to fake them out here. But this deck is so much better to play against now it doesn't have Nardu. You could actually attack it in a meaningful fashion. If we look at what they've got in their deck, I'm not seeing... We're just looking at Tamios, but there's no Stoneforge Mystic that I can see in there. They've got Orange Chance. Okay. We already have Graveyard Hate in the main deck, so that's something. I like him to Tourach quite a bit here. Opposition Agent against a decent chunk of their things is pretty good. So is the Plague Engineer. I don't think we want the Powder Kegs. They can blow up Shuko or Nomads. So these are an option. I don't think we need Sheoldred here. How do I feel about Maei? Is she where I want to be here? Probably trim some baubles because that's not really what this game's about. The Sheoldred's Edict is not actually very good here. I think just having the Plague Engineers is better. If we're boarding in 3 drops, we probably need to board out some 3 drops. Does that mean we're actually going to board out some Barrowgoyfs? Could be. I think we're going to be stronger in combat than our opponent anyway. Maybe we take out these Maeis so that we get access to Powder Kegs. Right, we're going to try it like this. They didn't show us a Stoneforge Mystic, so it doesn't look like we need to have the Barrowgoyf to race a potential Cauldra or sort of keep it back on blocks. We don't need the Sheoldred's Edict because they haven't shown us Cauldra either. I'm not really liking this one. There's a bit too much mana and some kind of heavy top end of our curve. We're going to mulligan this. All right, I'm down to Underground Mortuary into him to Tourach. What are we going to put back? Probably the Powder Keg based on our setup here. Here's the Mortuary. What are we going to mill over? Bowmasters. Okay, that's a pretty good one because that kills basically all of their creatures. But if they just have like the turn 2 send with enough counters to back it up, there's not a lot we can do about that. Which is one of the strengths of Breakfast. You can take it apart, but their top end draws are very hard to interact with. So this is not going to be a turn 2 send because this is only white. This is only blue mana, and they would need to do a white drop on turn 1 for that. I'm just going to send this him to Tourach at our opponent's dome and scramble their hand a bit. They might brainstorm to protect the important cards here. They are going to brainstorm. But what are the important cards? Because the lands could be the important cards as well as the spells. Resolve our him. We are a Plough and a Tundra. I would like to draw a Dauthi Voidwalker to really shut down the graveyard aspect of our opponent's deck. Especially as we just got a Plough out of hand. So our opponent looks like they're going to try and combo us next turn, potentially. If I play this Plague Engineer out and they have another Plough, they can Plough it, untap, and then combo off. So it's better if we play the Bowmasters this turn. We'll leave this uncracked because we have synergies with cracking things, so we don't need to do that just yet. This is annoying if our opponent doesn't deploy anything to the board, though. Triumph of St. Catherine. Yeah, that's pretty awkward for us. We don't really have a good way of removing that. We don't have our Barrowgoyfs either. I'm just not familiar with this juke that our opponent's doing, and now we're going to get punished for it big time. Powder Keg can tick up. I guess we have a Death Touch blocker. It's ugly, but I think we're going to have to put this Bowmasters in now. I would like to use this for removal, but we're just so far behind right now. Really not expecting this pivot plan. I could strip more of my opponent's cards before playing the Plague Engineer. Or we play the Plague Engineer and have a chance at double spelling the following turn. I think it's the Plague Engineer that's got to come in here. Cephalid is no longer a creature type, it's Octopus. I'm going to name Wizard, because it's an Octopus Wizard if I remember rightly. But this has Death Touch, so it can trade into the Triumph of St. Catherine. But they have to remove this Plague Engineer, so they would need another land, and a Plough, and a Nomads. Right, so they have the Plough. Do you have a land, Nomads, and Cephalid? We just cooked every which way. There's a Shuko. Have you got the Cephalid as well? Or are you just coming in for more damage with your Triumph? I'm going to take the 6. This isn't a big deal. The fact that this is just going to be sticking around and dominating combat is the big deal. But our life total can take a little bit of pain. Okay, we've got an opposition agent we can do some stuff with. Tap with the Bowmaster. We'll hold back the army because we can block with it. I could just take my opponent's remaining cards and then we just have to find a way of beating this. Yeah, I think we have to take our opponent's remaining cards. It's not very mana efficient as a play, but it's probably the correct one for us. Thassa's Oracle and another Triumph. I'm glad they're not going to play another Triumph into us. That would be pretty spooky. Hedge Maze. This is probably just for the purposes of Prismatic Ending and Memory's Journey. I don't think they're going to have green spells in their deck. I think we can take 6 again. I would like a shot of being able to maybe kill this Triumph at some point. Step through. So Wizards cycling their way towards what? A Tamiyo. Tamiyo's not great into the Bowmasters, to be honest. Alright, they're equipping it, so it's fine to block with here. A Wasteland. We get to cast 2 spells. So I guess we cast 2 spells. I think we're going to chump block with the army now. They have an additional threat as well. And our own Obsessive Pursuit will start eating away at our life total as time goes by. Could you just stop it, please, opponent? At least Powder Keg can hit both of these Triumphs, I guess. This 4 Triumph pivot is going to destroy us. And we're just unprepared for this. I'm going to get a clue. Do they crack it before my Orc army dies? That would probably be the best thing they could do here. Okay, I think they should have cracked it first, because then they get to wipe the token now if they draw a card with this. Not that they need to draw a card with it, though. Yes, but counter on Powder Keg. Make our little clue. An Orcish Bowmasters. That's not too bad. We can crack a clue and Orcish Bowmasters. Him to Tourach, a little bit far from what we actually want to be doing right now. So this Bowmasters has got to do some work. So with this clue on the stack, I'm going to flash in a Bowmasters. Does it matter what we ping? Probably not. We could ping their life tail, but 33 is such a big number. So we have to block both of these. We're taking 2 a turn, 1 from our Pursuit and 1 from the Tamiyo. I don't even need to crack clues here. Okay, they have an Octopus. And now they can just combo us out. Yeah, we're just done here. I think the Triumph of St. Catherine pivot plan, we had no idea that was coming. I've not seen that out of a Cephalid Breakfast deck before. Obviously, people are trying new stuff now. Nida's been banned, and this absolutely slaughtered us. So, something to note for future rounds. We got one more round left. We're currently 3-1, so the 4-1 is on the cards, but unfortunately, no trophy match today. No lands, no keep. 1 land on the play. I don't think we keep a 1 land on the play. We got 20 lands in our deck, so that'll be 18 after we crack with this, which is about 1 in 3 chance. I think we just have to mulligan. Not like this deck. I'll get rid of Dauthi and a Sheoldred. Let's hope our opponent's playing Oopsal spells and they just fold to this Dauthi Voidwalker. I'll put that on top of my library. I think it's better to get the Dauthi down first because this is the sort of card that could just shut down our opponent's entire deck. So many resources being sunk into this though. Like they can force of will and be up a card here because it took us 3 cards to get this Dauthi Voidwalker in. Oh, it was Oopsal spells. Oh, take that. That's what we want to see. We don't really want to see Oopsal spells, but we do want to see us playing our turn 1 thing that wrecks them. Here is a Maei. This is going to drastically reduce their ability to play this game because a lot of their bits of mana, obviously not Spirit Guides, but Dark Ritual and their Chrome Moxes and their Lotus Petals are all going to ping them for 2. So not going to have that much time to actually string together their combo. Now it is possible they're playing a different deck. But generally speaking, you don't see Agadeem unless they're already playing the other 2 lands, which are the better ones. The Boggart Trawler and the Fel the Profane. Because those are just good spells. This is like really expensive on the front side to get it to do anything. Agadeem, they're paying 3 life. Are they going to just play some dude? Alright, we've got Dark Ritual. They're at 12. 4 mana. Fel the Profane, targeting my Dauthi Voidwalker. That is their Dark Ritual gone though. We're going to keep doing anything we can to keep our opponent off balance. This was a Malta 5. Obviously, this is kind of a hyper-polarized matchup where no one really plays proper Magic because of the nature of Oopsal spells. Hopefully that Dark Ritual was something they needed. Alright, a tap land. Another Wasteland off the top or a Dauthi Voidwalker, please. Swamp isn't really what we're after. We're going to hold this so our opponent suspects some foul play here. But they're very quickly running out of time. I think if we connect once more, they can't win. Alright, we managed to get game 1 on a Malta 5 versus Oopsal spells. Go Gadget, Hatebears. What do we want to do about this particular matchup? I would like to have some hymns. If we get a turn with the hymn and we just strip our opponent's resources, it's going to be good. Maei looks pretty solid here. They don't tutor unless they're running the Summoners pack, but they're probably not running that because it's bad. Plague Engineer can actually randomly mess with their deck because if they go for, let's say, a plan that involves Narcomoebs coming back and sacrificing them to stuff, they just die straight away, so they never get to Cabal Therapy and bring back Poxwalkers. I will need to look up the creature type of that because that's a card that I keep forgetting the creature type of. So these can definitely come out. Orcish Bowmasters, not at its best here. The Bauble, is that particularly useful here? I'm not really. Let me just take out some Bowmasters. The Barrowgoyf hits quickly and ends the game quickly. And if they're keeping to like a creature duke as their sort of backup plan, the Barrowgoyf can answer that in some fashion. We have these Fatal Pushes and we have these Sheoldred's Edicts. Do we want these is the question. If they're going for a creature backup plan, I think we have the creature backup plan covered. Definitely don't need Fatal Pushes, which means you probably get to board back in some like Bowmasters or something. They're not very exciting. Do I want some Sheoldred's Edict just in case? I think I'll keep 2 in, just in case they are boarding into a bunch of Barrowgoyfs and Dauthis of their own. It's just 2. It's just so that we know they're there. This doesn't have any way of interacting with our opponent. We need Hand Disruption and Graveyard Hate. We don't have turn 0 Graveyard Hate, so our opponent probably just sends and kills us. But they might be anticipating something like a Leyline, so it might change how they've sideboarded and what hands they keep. This is a turn 2 him to Tourach, but we have double Wasteland. Turn 2 him to Tourach is a little tricky. Our opponent's gone to 5. I'm going to mulligan. Thoughtseize or something. Okay, we got Thoughtseize, Maei, and a couple of Wastelands. We're going to keep this one. I think we bin off these two. We could bin off Wasteland and Bloodstained Mire and have the Obsessive Pursuit going to try and draw us into more disruption. Those are our two best options. We could also keep the Bloodstained Mire, so we turn on the him to Tourach as a draw, as well as a Dauthi Voidwalker. I quite like the sound of that, actually. I think we probably should keep the black source. Oh, they're just going to kill us on turn 1 now. After all that deliberation. Tapped or untapped? Untapped, we're probably dead. They might just Thoughtseize us. Could you not, opponent? There's an Undersea Informer. Do they have the mana to crack it right now? They do. Okay, so they just mull to a turn 1 kill. Let's see how they've sideboarded and if we need to do anything differently. So on the play, we obviously win with this hand, but let's have a look. So we've got Unmask, Lively Dirge. This is like another weird reanimate, isn't it? No real creature duke that I can see. No, like... Yeah, no Barrowgoyf or anything. It's kind of bold to just send it, but maybe it's because they're on the play, they're just sending it. So actually, how many Poxwalkers? I assume they can win the game still. Am I only seeing 1 Poxwalkers? 1 Poxwalkers and 1 Bridge from below, so they have enough to combo us. And they're always going to go for it because there's no reason not to. Let's get stuck in again. We didn't see a creature duke. That doesn't mean they can't do it again. How much better is it to have, let's say, Opposition Agent in our deck compared to Sheoldred's Edict? Based on what we saw, it makes no real difference. Neither of these cards are really going to be make or break for us. The Powder Keg can blow up some of their stuff. If they play mana out... Actually, yeah, let's have a couple of Powder Kegs in instead of the Sheoldred's Edict. Because these can kill creatures, but they can also take out any mana that our opponent's playing out, so we can't make them discard it. So if they play out like a Chrome Mox and a Lotus Petal to try and dodge Hand Disruption, we can then smash them both with this. Like, it's not great, but I think it's probably better than the Sheoldred's Edict, and it can do the same job as the Sheoldred's Edict if it needs be. This is a turn 1 Dauthi Voidwalker. That's pretty much what we came to do. They kept 7 though, a little bit worried about that. I think it's right to get the Dauthi in. There is an option to him, but if we hit the wrong things, we just die still. They could have Charbelcher, which is why I'm a little bit reluctant. Well, not reluctant, but a little bit hesitant to say that this is always going to be the best thing to do here. I think on balance it is, and that's probably enough for us. We didn't really see answers to Dauthi Voidwalker in their list either when they milled over last time. But maybe game 2 they just try and go underneath it, and then game 3 they board in some answers from a place slower. Bog at bog, tapped or untapped. Please be tapped. They're thinking long and hard actually, so maybe they don't have an obvious line. Tapped. Alrighty. Going to play out that Lotus Petal. This also gets ahead of our Maei if we draw that. I think the correct play here is to him to Tourach our opponent and just disrupt the amount of resources they have. Jack-o'-lantern and Passageways here. Okay, so they've got a pivot. They're doing initiative stuff. We can't afford to swap this Dauthi Voidwalker for an initiative creature. Barrowgoyf also beats basically any creature pivot because this creature is real silly. Untapped with this Bog at Bog. Are we just going to be trading backwards and forwards with the initiative? This does have lifelink. We really want to draw a land here. I think if we draw a land, then we win the game most of the time. Oh, what do we mean? Of course we're going to draw a land. We have a Dauthi Voidwalker, don't we? This is unblockable. So we get the initiative, we get our swamp, and we're fine. Unless I hit the wrong button here. Right, we've got the swamp. We play the swamp. Is there any reason to do this now? I don't believe so. We get to maintain the initiative here. Ping them for 1, and then we just chump block. This doesn't have any evasion, it's just lifelink, isn't it? So we get to keep the initiative. Dark Ritual, we're going to see another guy that makes the initiative happen. Everyone's on pivots today. Fell the Profane on our poor defenseless Dauthi Voidwalker. 1 card left in our opponent's hand. Cabal Therapy targeting us. They're going to name Dauthi Voidwalker. That would be a good name. They named Orcish Bowmaster. Okay. I think we're going to go to the Lost Well, because I could scry if we hit a forest, a swamp even, then we're really good. I'll put this on the bottom. I'll put this on the top. Our opponent has no cards in hand over there. So Big Daddy Barrowgoyf come into play. We could goad this Passageway Seer and just get it dead. They probably just Cabal Therapy it, and maybe I'm okay with that. Alright, they've had enough. Big Daddy Barrowgoyf. Maybe Barrowgoyf would be a better pivot for them as well. So we finished with a 4-1 record. The only deck that beat us was Breakfast. Game 1, they just kind of had it all in Breakfast. And then Game 2, they absolutely blindsided us with a pivot that was really strong. So this is the first draft of like the MONOBLACK HATEBEARS build that I'm putting out. And already I think this deck is really good and legitimate. And a wonderful thing about this deck is the price. No dual lands. No reserve list cards. We've got Lotus Petals and Wastelands, and that's probably the big money here. I guess Barrowgoyf is probably more expensive than it should be because it's printed in like a weird commander set. But this deck is incredibly affordable by Legacy standards. What you could do in the sideboard, you could change these powder kegs for Ratchet Bombs. The Ratchet Bombs would give you the ability to blow up enchantments, but the powder kegs let you blow up artifact lands, which can be a pretty big deal in those sorts of matchups. Although, how much are we seeing 8 cast right now? Hard to say, because we're sort of in topsy-turvy new meta realms. So you could play these as Ratchet Bombs, or you'd have 2 Ratchet Bombs and 1 Filigree Silex or something like that it's called. It's basically Ratchet Bomb. It has additional text sometimes, but it also just means that they can't pity needle all of your Ratchet Bomb effects. In terms of the main deck, I think Opposition Agent is probably like the weakest thing going on here, especially since we're a Lotus Petal build instead of a Dark Ritual build. And I do think playing Lotus Petal is better because it just scales with 2 of the things. I think you could probably cut an Opposition Agent and play another Obsessive Pursuit. This card was great all day. We just managed to pump our creatures with it whilst also generating clues. And what more can you ask for? I think this card is really legit, and I was just checking while I was waiting for my last round to load, and somebody has 5-0'd with an Eldrazi deck playing Obsessive Pursuit. So this card is definitely something you should have on your radar. I think it's very good. Like I said in my little video of 10 cards I think we'll see playing Legacy. This is one that I thought would be a cute thing that I like, but I've played it once, and now I'm convinced this is going to be a card. Stalactite Stalker looked much better in this deck than it has done in previous decks I've ran it in. I think because it combines with the Obsessive Pursuit so nicely. Black Hatebears obviously being great. Maei pretty much single-handedly won us some games, which is nice. Big fan of this card. And also props to Wizard of the Coast for printing symmetrical effects. I'm so sick and tired of printing like a cool card that is asymmetrical. It's like, where's the deck building challenge in that? You can just put it in whatever and it's asymmetrical. But when you have an actual symmetrical effect, you need to consider how it's going to impact you and try and break that parity. Or if you can just say, I'm okay losing that life because I'm doing whatever. So, big fan of this design. This is another one of the cards I picked as being a Legacy playable one from the set, and I think we very much showcased that today. We didn't really ever get up to Sheoldred mana. I don't know how much you need Sheoldred, but like I said, it does give you an answer in your deck that can beat Ensnaring Bridge. And we don't really have anything else that can do that. You could probably find some other random card that could help you do that, but I think just having a one-off Sheoldred in your deck doesn't really hurt either, because this can shut down a lot of decks as well, and is just a really big creature. So yeah, I wouldn't mind tweaking this a little bit, but I would be very happy to take this to a tournament. Give me, a couple of weeks of testing, and I think I could get this in a really good spot to take to a competitive tournament, potentially like an Eternal Weekend event. Although I'm not going to Eternal Weekend, so I won't be doing that. But if you are, I think this is a very good starting point. Sideboard-wise, I do like the hymns. I think this is just better than having a piece of 1 mana disruption, because we also have the Lotus Petal, so this can be a turn 1 play. I think Hymn to Tourach has a lot more flexibility, because in the slightly fairer matchups, you can just board in some extra 2-for-1s, and then your opponent's going to be struggling to keep up with what you're applying to their face. Plague Engineer, I do like this one. It's good against Breakfast. It's good against the Ocelot Pride decks. There's a lot of places where this is actually going to be pretty relevant. And I think it's sort of coming back as a thing that you want to be doing, because the format's kind of slowed down a bit. Like the Blue-Black Reanimator deck that does exist, which I think you saw on my channel yesterday, that deck now has to go through so many hoops to try and use Worldly Tutor like an Entomb that it's a lot slower. So playing slightly slower cards makes a bit more sense, and we can disrupt decks like that anyway. If you want more Graveyard Hate, you can run Leylines, obviously, and that's fine, or you can run Fairy Macaques, but I don't like Fairy Macaques very much against the Useful Spells deck, but Leyline is obviously very good. You don't even have to run very many of them. You don't need to play 4 Leylines like some people think. You can just run a couple because you want that effect in your deck, and it goes alongside your Dauthi. But all in all, I think this deck looks really good and solid, and most importantly, for you lovely people here, these 2 cards are bangers, so pick them up if you like playing black decks, because you're going to see these on my channel a fair bit, I would imagine. Alright, thank you so much for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe. Why not become a YouTube member for just $1 a month? You get to see my videos early. I have it nice and cheap compared to other content creators, with the idea that more people will do it, and it's basically like nothing to most people's income, a single dollar. But if enough of you do it, then it makes a difference to me, and I appreciate it. Alright, plugs over and done with. I hope you enjoy this one. Thanks for watching, and goodbye. If you'd like to support me in the channel, please check out my Patreon. It has a free guide to budget turbo depths, as well as 3 tiers of support. A low cost one that enters you into my monthly raffle for a free donation deck on the channel, a mid-tier subscription that gives you access to my detailed turbo depths guide that is updated every month, as well as regular articles, and lastly the higher tier gives you all of the above, as well as a monthly donation deck for my channel. If you're interested in supporting the channel this way, please check out the link in the description.